welcome back. You're watching Overdrive. Now, despite the success of the Scorpio, the Bolero and the Xylo, M&M's most iconic SUV for most of us will be the MM540 Jeep. So now Mahindra has decided to give this icon a 21st century twist. Here's a first road test of the Mahindra Thar.
True go-anywhere ability. Eyeballing the toughest terrain and proceeding to blast through it. To most Indians, a Jeep is a visual manifestation of the great outdoors. A constant fixture in young boys' adventurous dreams. And growing up, I've had a lot of those dreams too.
But I didn't really get any chance to spend any significant amount of time in a Jeep until a couple of years ago when my parents decided to move to the hills and my father just had to buy himself an old, well-used Jeep. Since then, I've driven and been driven around the Nilgiri Hills in what he fondly calls Old Bessie, and I've come to realize two things. The first is that Jeep ownership requires you to have the time, ability, and unyielding passion to be able to constantly build, rebuild, and modify your Jeep. And the second is that if you spend any time at all in a city, a Jeep just wasn't practical for you. But here's a Jeep that could well change all that.
That the Thar looks great is natural. Mahindra chose to keep the MM540's design intact, which is a good move. It's brutal, casually disregards metrosexual fluff like aerodynamics, and its proportions are a visual treat. Aside from glossier paint and oversized Thar logos, the Jeep looks just like you think it should. Chunky, substantial, and hairy-chested. Oozing "I can handle absolutely anything" attitude.
In the last couple of days that I've had this car on test, I've had people from all walks of life coming up to take a closer look. But there is a problem. The Indian car market today is a place where even the world's cheapest car uses decent quality plastics, where any hatchback from the price range of 3 to 6 lakh rupees has well-built, well-finished, good quality, ergonomic interiors. And that's where for a lifestyle product, the Thar falls woefully short. The Thar's interiors are... Actually, take a look.
For starters, the steering wheel, borrowed from the Bolero, is offset from the driver's seat. Not immediately noticeable, but an irritant over time. And you'll need some dexterity to squeeze your fingers through the smallest of gaps and access the control stalks. Of even more concern is the really shoddy build quality. The edges on some of the plastic bits look like they were attacked with a hacksaw in a garage, and the exposed nuts, bolts, and seat springs can all damage the unwary. On the good side, the front seats are comfortable and travel a long way, so really tall drivers will have no significant problems.
Now, I'd never admit it, but my father is getting old. And even though he loves this Jeep dearly, wrestling it and its underpowered engine around the hairpin bends of the Nilgiris leaves him with a whole lot of aches and pains. And that's why the Thar could be the perfect solution for him. You see, under that oh-so-retro hood is a modern 2.5-litre common rail diesel engine that produces over 100 PS of power. That's more power than my dad or any other user of this car is ever likely to need.
Adding to that is 246 Newton meters of torque, all of it available between 1800 and 2000 RPM. And that gives the Thar thrilling performance. Top speed is around 130 kilometers per hour. 0 to 100, though largely irrelevant in this vehicle, takes almost 19 seconds. And you can cruise along for hours together at over 120 kilometers per hour. The gearbox is easy to work despite its long throws, and the big surprise is the fuel economy. 16.8 kilometers per litre on the highway and 14.6 in the city.
I have bad teeth. Why is that relevant? Well, every time I've been out in my dad's Jeep, I've had to pray that my fillings don't rattle out. The ride is simply that harsh. But Mahindra's engineers have solved that problem with the Thar, by equipping it with independent front suspension. And as a result, the ride quality is astonishingly good.
It's still a rugged ladder frame chassis, and the rear suspension still uses leaf springs, so passengers sitting at the back will still get thrown around. But thanks to the new fronts, the Thar feels much more stable and composed on tarmac, and can actually be driven over long distances without the customary visit to the orthopedic. That Mahindra have gotten this vehicle this quiet, this vibe-free, and this close to passenger car refinement is exceptional.
Now, because of its short wheelbase, high driving position and power steering, the Thar is remarkably easy to maneuver and drive in city conditions. In fact, after a while, you will begin to wonder if you could well use it as your daily driving car. Well, you can, except for two things. There's no air conditioning and there's no hard top. Why is that a problem? Well, if like me you live in Mumbai, you'll need covered and secure parking at both your residence and your office to be able to go anywhere in this car. And the second problem, well, it's the heat, isn't it?
So that's settled. If, like me, you live in the city, the Thar cannot yet replace your trusty hatchback. But like my father, if you live in the hills, or jungles, or deserts, you're going to be very happy.
The Thar comes equipped with a Borg manual 4-wheel drive transfer case with 4 low and auto locking hubs. And given its rich off-roading heritage and mountain goat genes, this vehicle does its best work off the beaten path.
Sure, hardcore off-roaders will have issues with the new front suspension, but it's a good trade-off between true mud plugging ability and on-road comfort. Of course, if you are going to take the Thar where no softies can go, you will need to fit a sump guard as well. And you probably should. Because with an ex-showroom price of close to 6 lakh rupees, the Thar is not yet a lifestyle vehicle or even something you can drive every day. It belongs in the jungle where it's the master of all its surveys.